So, in case any of you didn't know, I ran the London Marathon on Sunday this weekend, and I thought I'd give you a little roundup as to how I feel the race went for me. So if you consumed any of my content in the last couple of months, you'll know that my goal time, my target time, was 3 hours and 30 minutes. That, in my eyes, required me to run a 7:58 minute per mile pace for the entire race. I actually managed to do that. However, my time didn't reflect what I thought it would, but I'll get into that shortly. So, starting the race, pretty much couldn't have gone better in terms of the carb load. Okay, a couple of days before, hit 400, 500, 600 grams of carbs the night before, and then on the morning we hit another 100 grams of carbs with a load of electrolytes. So fueling beforehand was pretty adequate, I would say. I felt energised, I felt good, okay, coming up to the race. I didn't account really for the amount of wait time between our last meal before the race and getting to the start line, actually getting over the start line and starting the race. When you get to your final station, train station, before you depart and walk to the start line, it was about a mile walk from the station to the start. That's one thing, it's a load of energy getting burnt up there. Obviously, you need all the help you can get when you're about to run 42 kilometres. You then have to stand around for about 45 minutes in a little holding pen, which I'll attach a little video of, before the start line, or before you get to the start. That again, I didn't really account for. So I didn't have adequate fuel stores for that little period in between breakfast and starting. That might have played into a little bit of the cramping later on down the line, later on in the race. What did happen was the atmosphere was unbelievable, as you can imagine. The people lining the streets, the amount of runners there, the amount of music going on, bands playing, live music, all this sort of stuff, which obviously helps your energy levels continue to be topped off, certainly mentally, throughout that race. So I was running it with a friend of mine. We started together. We started probably for the first 8 miles together. After a while, it sort of transpired that we probably weren't going to stay together because I was starting to pull away a little bit and I was having to slow down to get back to his mark, and then he would have to speed up, and it just wasn't really flowing. So when you're running that far, you need to get into a little bit of a rhythm and get consistent in your pacing. So I just pulled away a little bit. I then ran with someone else that was running for my charity. We ran together for a little bit again for probably the next 8 miles. So for 16 miles of the race, or 17 miles of the race, I was running with someone else. I then let all those people go somehow. I looked round and they weren't there anymore. So I was then running by myself, obviously with all the other people around me, but generally by myself. I wasn't talking to anyone for the last sort of 10 miles, and that was really where the pain kicked in. And so for the first 15, 16 miles, I was feeling really, really good. I could tell the fatigue was building. I was taking a gel every 5 miles as I practiced. I was looking into my watch for timing and pacing. Everything was pretty much going to plan. First 15 miles. I then was just waiting for it to start to get really tough, because I knew there's no way you're going to complete a marathon without there being a little bump in the road somewhere. That bump in the road came at around mile 19, I would say. So mile 19, I started to get a nagging little cramp in my hamstring. So my hamstring started to cramp up. It was a little cramp to start with, and then very quickly as I continued to run on it, it just grabbed hold and started to grab my hamstring, started to really lock up. I continued to run. I just changed my running style, changed my gait a little bit to accommodate for the cramp. I continued to run, and then after a little bit, after maybe 400 meters, it left, so it wasn't there anymore. And then subsequently, after every sort of mile after that, it was cramping again. So the same hamstring, then the quad, then the calf, on that same leg for whatever reason, maybe my running style, whatever, was starting to cramp up. I was having everything possible to try and mitigate this. So I was having every gel that was on hand. I must have had about 8 gels in total. Every gel that was on hand, I was having every Lucozade stop, every water stop, everything that I could possibly do to get my hamstrings to start working properly. They were just on the way down. So you'll see when I attach my splits here. So I got probably 7:49 to 7:55 for the majority of the first 16 miles, let's say. I then fell off the pace probably around mile 20. So mile 20 to 26, I was a little bit slower. which was to be expected. Obviously, I wasn't going to be able to hold underneath marathon or my projected marathon pace for the entire time, otherwise I should have been shooting for something faster. Here's what I didn't account for though. So my watch, super accurate, it's brand new Garmin Solar Instinct 2, which is a really good watch, highly recommended. But my watch was really accurate. What I didn't account for was the fact that we'd be zigzagging a little bit on the course. So obviously they measure the course in a straight line. When you run the race, because there's so many people, you're running around people, you're running to water stops, you're running away from water stops, you're sort of running zigzags. And so what's transpired is, as you'll see on Strava here, I actually managed to do 26.6 miles rather than the 26.2 miles. Because of that, my average pace that I was shooting for of 7:58 per mile, which would have got me 26.2 miles in sub 3 hours 30, didn't quite suffice. So I was running that 7:58 minute per mile pace. That was my average pace, was actually a 7:57. So I was way under for average. But because I ended up running further because of the zigzag of the course and whatever else, I didn't manage to officially get the sub 3:30 time on the chip timer, which is obviously what measures your time from crossing the start line to crossing the finish line, and that's what your official time is. However, on Strava, when I got to 26.2 miles from start line to 26.2, in actual fact, in GPS terms, I was well under the 3 hour 30 mark for the marathon. So I'm happy. I couldn't have really foreseen that. That's something that no one really mentioned to me. So a big tip for anyone who's going for a time in their first marathon who doesn't have this experience is have a look at your average split that you've got to hit your time. So if you want to hit a 3:30 marathon, you'll know that 7:58 per mile will get you in. However, what I would do is pace yourself a little bit faster than that. So in your training, or your training runs, or your build phase, let's go a little bit under that 7:58 minute per mile pace, because you know on the day that's going to pay dividends when you actually have to run a little bit further than 26.2 miles. In my case, a whole 0.4 of a mile further. But that's just because of the way how much I moved around on the course. That's no one's fault, obviously, can't be helped. But again, I couldn't have known that until running my first race. So maybe next time, if there is a next time, I'll know to pace a little bit quicker. I actually worked out, having ran 26.6, how fast I would have had to run average split wise to get under 3:30, and that would have been a 7:53 minute per mile pace, which is a lot different. Okay, 4 seconds on the mile quicker. So if I'd have paced off that, potentially I would have got in time. However, on the last couple of miles, I was pretty much at 100% effort. I was at 100% intensity. There was pretty much nothing else I could have given. Whether that was because of lack of fueling, whether that was because of I went out too fast on the front end of the race, we won't know. However, I'm super happy with the time, super happy with the effort, super happy with the day itself. The day went really, really well. It was an amazing event, and if anyone is out there on the fence or thinking they might want to do it next year, I would 110% recommend to get yourself in with a charity, get raising the money, do the hard work, okay, to get your donations in, and get yourself a place on the London Marathon, because it is a once in a lifetime thing. You see the city of London like it's never been seen before. It's awesome. So I highly recommend it. If you're on the fence, or if you're thinking about doing one, try and do London, because I haven't done any others, but in my opinion, that'll take some beating, that race. Okay, so what's next for me in terms of fitness? Obviously this last couple of months has been highly marathon based, probably bored of that by now. This is the end of that, just to close off that saga. Next, we are looking to Hyrox in October. So Pears Hyrox is, if anyone doesn't know, it's 8 stations, 8 functional fitness stations with a 1K run in between. So in the next couple of months, I'll be working to improve my capacity over those 8 functional fitness stations in the middle of that event. So that's what you'll be seeing more of on this channel, the build towards Hyrox. I'm not going to start that build for a few weeks as I'm going to look to improve my strength again and try and get back into lifting, certainly Olympic lifting, which I definitely left behind because of all these endurance stuff. So I'm going to get snatching again, I'm going to get clean and jerking again, I'm going to try and build my snatch up as high as I can. So again, you'll probably see a lot of that. And then after about 8 to 12 weeks of that, I'm then going to lean in to Hyrox and we're going to get that cracked. So that's it then. That's the London Marathon, all done and dusted. 3 hours, 31 minutes and 12 seconds or something like that. Mega happy again with the effort. Just a few little learning points to go and square away next time, but that was always going to be the way. If you've got any questions about how it went, or you want to know anything more, you want me to cover anything else around the race, then definitely comment below. And the first link in the description will still be my donation link, because it's live for the next 30 days, okay, after the race. So get donating, it's a really good cause, and they managed to raise, I think, £220,000 total, SAFA did, for Armed Forces veterans, which is amazing. If we can add anything to that, let's do so. But yeah, if you can like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Just a quick one. Our podcast episode for next Monday will be the marathon special. So if this video has been of any interest to you, then we're going to break the marathon down in terms of the training, the build, the day itself, the weekend, all that kind of stuff, everything that happened. We're both going to break it down from both of our perspectives on the marathon episode. So if you want to go and subscribe to that channel and make sure you don't miss that, essentially, then I'll put the link in the description below. But other than that, peace.